Hi there, and welcome to the second video of my new series about investment finance and money and banking. So what we will talk about today is a very simple but interesting topic, and the question that I want to talk with you today about is, why did we actually invent money? It is something that is entirely made up by human. And the only reason money has value is that we give value to it. So the question here is, why do we actually do something so weird like that we take paper, print it, and we value it so much? So let's take a look into the agenda. I'm gonna try to keep it nice, short, and sweet. So today we will just define what is money, and then we will describe its functions, and that's pretty much it. So let's dive into it. We start with some definitions. So let's define money. Money is an asset that is generally accepted as payment for goods and services, right? So it's a mean of exchange, or for repayment of debt. Since we are in the joy of discussing definitions, let's wrap it up with two more definitions. The next definition is income. And income is a flow of earnings over time, right? So income is always over a specific amount of time. So if someone is asking you, what is your income? You can either say, for example, it's $30 per hour, or $500 per week, or $5,000 per month, or $120,000 per year, or something like that. It's always over a specific time frame, because income is a flow. So it's a flow of earning over time. In opposite to that is wealth. So first of all, what is wealth? Wealth is the value of asset minus liabilities. So how much is the value of my assets? So you can take your properties, your stock portfolio, your gold, everything else that you have that can be counted as an asset. You add the values of all of them together, and then you subtract the liabilities, the debts and the mortgages, etc., that you have, any kind of liabilities. You subtract it, what is left under the line is your wealth. And wealth, in opposite to income, is not a flow, but wealth is defined at a certain point of time. So as of today, as of this moment, I am worth, or my wealth is, let's say, $2.3 million. Last December, my wealth was maybe $1.8 million or something like that, right? So wealth is defined over at a certain point of time, while income is defined over a period of time. So that's an important difference that you should be aware of. So may I have some drum rolls, please, for the three functions of money? Well, money has those three functions. It is a mean of payment, it is a unit of account, and it is a store of value. What do we mean by that? Let's start with the most important function, which is the mean of payment. Yeah, as I mentioned, that's the most characteristic of money. If you want to buy something, you do it. You compensate the person who is giving you a service or a good with money. Same thing is for you when you offer a service, or when you sell a good, you receive money. So that is the mean of exchange that we use. Throughout history, we have not always used paper money, obviously. We have used a lot of different things as money, sometimes very exotic things. It could have been as weird as fishbone, or certain rare stones, or even like silk, or gold, or even cigarettes have been used as mean of payment. But if you think about a world where we would have nothing that would be used as a mean of payment, so there would be no money and nothing else that would substitute it, how would things work actually? So first of all, that is called a barter economy. If you would live in a barter economy, how would things work? Let's say If you have a motorcycle and you want to buy a car instead and sell your motorcycle, and there would be no money, you would need essentially someone who has exactly the car that you want to buy and who needs exactly that motorcycle that you want to sell, and with whom you can somehow arrange an exchange. That sounds very complicated. It's very difficult to find someone with exactly those needs. That's called double coincidence of wants that you have in a barter economy. When you have money, you avoid that problem. You can simply sell your motorcycle to whoever wants a motorcycle, and then with that money, you probably need a little bit more money, so you add something to it, and then you can buy a car that you need from whoever has that car. So that makes things a lot easier. Another thing is, when we use money as means of payment, it is easier and finalizes payments so that there is no further claim on buyers and sellers. Let's say we make a deal that I offer 25 hours of econ classes for a brand new iPhone Pro. Now the problem here would be, obviously I cannot give 25 hours of straight classes in one day. Wouldn't be possible. What I have to do is probably I teach an hour or two today, an hour or two, in a day or two, and then a few hours in the next week and a few hours the week after until we are done with the 25 classes. So which means the payment is not finalized, right? It takes a couple of weeks or so until that payment is finalized. Versus with money, I just go there, pay the money, the full price, I receive the object, and we can easily do a deal where the payment is finalized and the deal is closed. That's another benefit of using money instead of having a barter economy. That's also important, right? Because the person maybe doesn't trust me, thinks he gives me the brand new iPhone, I walk away and never give the econ classes or whatever, and other kinds of problems. So as you can see, transactions are a lot smoother with using money, and also the number of and the increase of numbers of buyers and sellers requires something like money. Barter economy might have been working okay thousands of years ago, where you would live in a tiny village and you would have just a handful or maybe a few dozen items that you would need for your life that would be traded between people. But nowadays, it wouldn't work. So the second function of money is unit of account. As you can think, using dollars makes things very easy. Let's say an hour of econ class with me is $100. The newest iPhone is let's say $1,400. Everything is very clear. If you would not have money, I want to pay for the iPhone with my econ classes. Maybe the next person wants to pay for an iPhone with chickens. The person has chickens. A third person wants to pay for the iPhone with books. He has books to sell. So we would need a lot of different prices for the iPhone, because we would need to know how many econ classes are an iPhone, how many books are an iPhone, and how many chickens are one iPhone. So you have to make almost an infinite amount of number of prices if it's good against good, versus with money you have only one price for each item, for each good, and for each service. Let's say econ class is $100 an hour and an iPhone is $1,500. Besides quoting prices, money can be used for recording debts, and it is a standard of value, so that makes things a lot easier. And another thing that is actually basics of economics is that prices provide information that is needed to ensure resources. Where should resources be allocated? If something has a higher price, that is signaling that that thing has a higher value for the society, because people are willing to pay a higher price for that, and because it is valued more resources are devoted to produce that more valuable good. So the price in terms of dollars or whatever is the currency that is used is giving that information to the market, is signalizing, okay, how much value has this certain good or this certain service, and accordingly more resources are then allocated towards producing that good or service that is valued higher by the people who are willing to pay the higher prices. And the last function is money is used as a store of value. So for example, if you want to build up your savings, what you did as a child probably was having a piggy bank, and you would throw in your little coins or your little paper money in there and have it collected, and so on and so forth. What you need to take into consideration is that both as a mean of payment as well as a store of value, money has to be durable, right? It shouldn't be something that rots. That's, for example, why let's say tomato has never been used as money, because after a few days it's not good anymore, so it goes bad. Another thing that you need to keep into consideration for store of value, especially nowadays since the Fed is printing a lot of money, is that there is this thing called inflation. So if bread costs now $3, that same bread next year is likely to cost $3.10 or $3.19 or something like that. So over time, prices go up, so the paper currency loses in value. So if you want to store value in the longer run, money is not necessarily a good choice. There are other forms of wealth that are also good for storing value. If you think, for example, of real estate, bonds and stocks, and even like commodities like gold or silver, those are things that usually, as time passes, actually gain in value, at least in nominal terms. Then you might ask yourself, well, if those are better compared to money as a store of value, because they are actually gaining in value oftentimes, why should we ever keep money at all as a store of value? And why not putting every little bit of saving into those other asset classes? And the problem is, when you need it, those other ones are not that liquid, right? So money is right away there. You can take it immediately, go out and buy something. Whereas if you have, let's say, real estate, if you have a house and you need money, you have to sell that house. Selling that property will take anywhere between a couple of weeks up to many months, actually. So you have to wait quite a time until it's liquidated. So what is liquidity? Liquidity is essentially a measure of the ease with which an asset can be turned into means of payment. The more costly it is to convert something into money, the less liquid it is. What do we mean with costly? It's not necessarily just cost. So for example, if you sell a house, like real estate agent and so on, that you have to pay, and transaction costs, but also if you need to have it essentially cashed today or very soon, you might have to sell it far below the market price so that someone is willing to pay you the money immediately, and you can close the deal, right? So if it's a real estate, you have to go sell it probably tens of thousands of dollars under the market price for someone who is a cash buyer and who would be willing to close the deal within 2 days or something like that. That's why real estate is very illiquid. Stocks are usually, especially if it's like a blue chip stock, it is faster and easier to get it. You sell it, and within usually 2 days, two business days, the money is settled in your account, etc. So liquidity is the reason why people hold to money even though it's losing value. Okay. So last but not least, let's get to the new section that I implemented into my videos, and that is a quote of the day. Let's take a look here. You must gain control over your money, or the lack of it will forever control you. That is the quote of the day by Dave Ramsey. So the stuff here in the video was pretty easy, but it's very substantial to understand them. If you want to understand how really the financial system, the economic system is working, if you want to truly understand inflation and what is the best way to react on those things and on inflation. So thank you very much for your time and attention, and I will see you hopefully very soon.